Falconry was really important to Sheikh Zayed. Nowadays, this journey takes 1 hour. And this is the meeting that created our United Arab Emirates. One of the most important days in UAE history is the 2nd of December, 1971. In a small room, a small circular room in Dubai, 6 men signed their names on a piece of paper. That today is what we call the birth of the UAE, the United Arab Emirates. Now here's the part that a lot of people don't talk about. That moment didn't happen overnight. It actually took 3 years. And it didn't come about from the wealth of the oil. It didn't come around by the involvement of the British or even the location of the UAE. It actually all came about through the life work of one man. Let me take you on the incredible journey of the birth of the UAE, Sheikh Zayed Museum. So just arrived to the museum, let's go. Sheikh Zayed's family has governed Abu Dhabi for hundreds of years, and the story starts in Liwa, deep in the desert, far from the coast. The name Abu Dhabi, which means father of gazelle, comes from a legend. A hunting party followed a gazelle's trail from Liwa all the way to a small island on the coast where they found fresh water source they didn't know existed. That island became Abu Dhabi. By the mid-1800s, an ancestor of Sheikh Zayed, his grandfather's grandfather, had united 3 strategic areas: the coastal land, the interior oasis of Al Ain, and the desert region of the south. He became ruler in 1855 and held his position for over 50 years. What made him exceptional wasn't military force, it was diplomacy. He never made a major decision without consulting the tribal leaders first. Every single day, he held an open gathering, a Majlis, outside the fort walls. Anyone could come, anyone could speak. That word Majlis means to sit, but what it really means is a leader who is accessible, a leader who listens before he decides. He also traveled the coastline personally to meet other rulers. In 1905, he gathered the rulers of Ajman, Dubai, Sharjah, and Al Quwain in one room to negotiate a shared solution. That tradition, consultation, dialogue, building consensus, didn't start with Sheikh Zayed. He inherited it and took it further than anyone before him had. Sheikh Zayed was born in 1918. He was the youngest of 5 children, and when he was just 8 years old, his father died. What happened next tells you everything about where his strength came from. His mother stepped up. With 5 children, no husband, and a period of real political instability around her, she packed up and led the family on camelback from Abu Dhabi to Al Ain to find safety. The journey from Abu Dhabi to Al Ain today takes about an hour by car. Back then, it took up to a week, following paths from well to well, routes that families passed down through generations by memory. She ran her own Majlis, welcoming women from the community, greeting each one by name. When one of her sons died, she dressed in her finest, prepared the house as normal. She concealed her own grief so that her surviving sons wouldn't lose their courage. Sheikh Zayed later said she was the bravest of the brave. Before he was even a ruler, he had already watched what real leadership looked like. Growing up in Al Ain, he learnt by listening. The community would gather under a gaff tree, the native desert tree you still see across the UAE today. He had open conversations and discussions, collective counsel. Every voice in the room was heard before a decision was made. He learned falconry from the elders around him, and he later said it was one of his greatest teachers. Falconry demands perseverance and patience. He said it allows you to travel expansive lands and encounter individuals from whom you can learn different lifestyles. He wasn't just hunting, he was reading the land, learning the people, building patience. And then oil entered the picture. In the 1900s, eldest brother, who was the ruler at the time, brought in British geologists to search for oil in the Emirates. He asked Sheikh Zayed to guide them across the land because Sheikh Zayed knew the terrain better than anyone else, and the community trusted him. In 1939, his brother signed a 75-year oil concession with a British company. The concession eventually became ADNOC, the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company that still operates today. In 1946, his brother appointed him as the official representative in Al Ain. Al Ain sat at the crossroads of ancient trade routes connecting Central Arabia to both the Gulf Coast and Muscat. It had date palm farms, it had a water channel system called aflaj, over 3,000 years old, and it had agricultural land that the family had managed for generations. But here is what set Sheikh Zayed apart from his role. He used his own money. He personally funded the restoration of those ancient water channels, the aflaj. He selected the plants himself, he oversaw how the channels were managed, he was on the ground. His wife was there with him every step of the way. way, building the foundations of education, healthcare, and infrastructure across Al Ain. The hospital is the clearest example. Before Al Ain's first hospital opened in 1960, which Sheikh Zayed helped establish, nearly half of all infants died in their first year. A third of mothers died in childbirth. Diseases that are easily treated today were frequently fatal. He saw that. He could not accept it, so he acted. His wife was critical to making the hospital actually work. A letter from one of the British contractors who built it at the time said, and I'm summarizing this, "Without the Sheikha directly guiding us on how to deliver this, the plans would have failed completely. They were culturally unworkable without her. She understood the community. She made the bridge between modern medicine and local trust. The hospital worked. Mortality rates dropped, and many of Sheikh Zayed's own children were born there, including the person who is the current president of the UAE today." Then education. In 1959, he opened Al Ain's first school. He went to families personally to encourage them to enroll their children. He arranged transport for families who lived too far to walk. His own sons were among the first 49 students enrolled. The lessons were simple: Arabic, Islamic studies, maths. Teachers used a well next to the school to teach agriculture. After school, there were plays and football. He was building citizens, not just subjects. And we thought they only used camels to get around. On the 6th of August, 1966, Sheikh Zayed became ruler of Abu Dhabi. Oil money was coming in, and the question every leader in that position faces is, what do you do with it? His answer was immediate. He said, bringing prosperity to the people by building a society where education, medical care, housing, and food are available. Not monuments, not palaces, not symbols of power. People first. In 1966 and 1967, he drove across the Emirate, often in a black car with no announcement, meeting families, writing down names himself. He personally registered the heads of each household during Eid visits. Then, on the 20th of March, 1968, he launched Abu Dhabi's first 5-year plan: education, housing, healthcare, agriculture, infrastructure, roads, airports, bridges, ports. He was directly involved in every project. He showed up unannounced to construction sites with a Polaroid camera to check the progress. But here is a thing that shows real intelligence. He didn't trust oil to last. He had watched the pearl industry collapse in the 1930s when Japanese cultured pearls flooded the market and wiped out Abu Dhabi's main source of income almost overnight. He was not going to let that happen again. So alongside the building plan, he was already sending young Emiratis abroad to study and develop the skills that would eventually run the country. Not just the oil, everything else. He was building a nation that could survive beyond any single resource. Back then, from Abu Dhabi to Al Ain, it would take about 1 week to travel on camelback. Then the story shifts from local leadership to nation building on a scale that had never been attempted here before. Sheikh Zayed didn't just want Abu Dhabi to succeed. He believed all the Emirates had to come together, or none of them would truly thrive independently. He met first with the ruler of Dubai. They agreed immediately. Then together, they issued an invitation to 5 other Emirates: Sharjah, Ajman, Al Quwain, Ras Al Khaimah, and Fujairah, along with Bahrain and Qatar. On the 27th of February, 1968, 9 rulers gathered in Dubai and signed an agreement to form a confederation. But it was not straightforward. Each emirate had centuries of its own history, its own identity, its own sense of pride. Bahrain and Qatar eventually decided not to join. The negotiations took 3 years. Sheikh Zayed's position was direct. Federation is the way to power, the way to strength. Small entities have no standing in the world today. The night of the 1st of December, 1971, Sheikh Zayed spent the evening in the desert between Abu Dhabi and Dubai, with his advisors away from the ceremony. He often did this before major moments. The desert grounded him, connected him to something that went beyond politics. The next morning, the 2nd of December, 1971, he walked into a small circular meeting room in a guest house in Jumeirah. The building is now called Union House. And with the rulers of 5 of the Emirates in that room, the United Arab Emirates was officially formed. Ras Al Khaimah joined in February 1972, completing the 7 Emirates. From a hunting party following a gazelle to a seat at the United Nations in under 300 years. He served as president for over 30 years. And in that time, the numbers are almost hard to believe. Infant mortality dropped 96%, life expectancy doubled, literacy literacy went from 51% of the population to 98%. He opened schools across the country. Then in 1976, he founded the country's first university in Al Ain, the exact place where he'd grown up learning under a gaff tree. He wanted Emiratis to access university without leaving their home country. His wife continued building the welfare infrastructure. She established Corniche Hospital in Abu Dhabi in 1977, which is still one of the region's leading maternity hospitals today. She pushed for women's participation in public life at every level. In 1975, women made up just 6% of the government workforce. Today, they hold 2/3 of public sector jobs and 30% of leadership positions. That is a direct result of the investment she championed. On water, he never forgot the aflaj. Under his leadership, the UAE funded dam projects in Jordan, Pakistan, and Yemen. Through his charitable foundation, 50,000 wells are dug across 12 countries. More than 50 million people globally are estimated to have benefited. On the environment, he banned hunting with guns after realizing as a young man that it was destroying wildlife. He established a nature reserve on Sir Banya Yas Island for endangered species, including the Arabian oryx. In 1997, he became the first head of state ever to receive the World Wildlife Fund's Golden Panda Award. On governance, the principle of the Majlis that his ancestor had practiced in the 1800s was formalized into a national institution, the Federal National Council. 40 members representing all 7 emirates was established in 1972. The principle? Leaders must remain accessible to the people they serve. His own Majlis was described as an open classroom. He listened, he advised, he guided, not from a position of distance, but from proximity. And he never stopped thinking about what happens after oil. In 1976, his son, who would become the second president of the UAE, became the founding chairman of the Abu Dhabi Investment Authority. The entire purpose was to take the country's oil income and invest it strategically so that future generations will be provided for even if the oil ran out. That fund is now one of the largest sovereign wealth funds in the world. He was thinking decades ahead while building the present. On the 2nd day of November 2004, on the 19th day of Ramadan, Sheikh Zayed passed away. The 7 emirates fell silent. He was taken to the Grand Mosque in Abu Dhabi, which now carries his name, and people filled the streets to share their grief. He is remembered not through official monuments or plaques, but through personal stories. Emiratis still tell stories of him walking into their classrooms unannounced, sitting at a majlis in the neighborhood, running into him in the most ordinary of circumstances. That is the measure of a leader. His son became the second president. He strengthened every institution his father had built, deepened the investment in human development, led by the same principles: consultation, service, accessibility. When the second president passed in 2022, the current president, Sheikh Zayed's other son, stepped into the role. He said, "Our society's deep-rooted values should remain a constant guiding light for our unity, solidarity, and respect for others, passed down from generation to generation. Same values, different generation." Sheikh Zayed said it himself in 1998, reflecting on the country's progress. Every man should learn from his predecessors, look at the paths they followed and the way they worked. Have they worked to nourish and save others, or only for their own good? If only for their own good, then they don't deserve credit. But if their ways and work were a guide and support people, whether a few or many, this credit gets rewarded by God. And perhaps the most remembered line, and my favorite line, is, "Humans are mortal, but nations are eternal. When a person dies, their light passes to another, illuminating the way for the next generation." That is this country. Built not on oil, but on a set of values that were already hundreds of years old when this man was born. Consultation before discussion, service before status, people before profit, roots before height. And those roots, you can feel them everywhere here. In the architecture, in the way this country is governed, in the fact that a museum like this even exists to make sure no one forgets where this all came from. If you're visiting Dubai or Abu Dhabi and you want to actually understand what you're looking at, this is where you come first. I'll link where to find the museum below.